How you doing out there, everybody? It's Saturday evening, rainy Saturday night in Central California. I'm with the proprietor, I guess you'd call him, of Chance's RC webpage or YouTube channel. He's gracious enough to let me do some more filming this evening. Um, when I go to, over the years as I've gone to these model contests that I've entered, people often ask where I get the scale steel braided lines and hydraulic lines that I use on this 118 scale stuff. So I thought I would take a few minutes and give you the rundown on the easiest way to make good looking scale steel braided lines that you can make in whatever size you're after. I mean, whether it's exactly to scale or if it just looks right. Either way, you're not hung out to dry anymore because nobody makes anything for the bigger scale stuff. So if you look at the boom on this service truck, all these hydraulic lines are made from, what do they call it? Primacord. Is that what they call that stuff? Primacord? Or laces off of my work boots. Very simple to do. If you need them stiffer than instead of dangling, if you need them rigid so you can route them to certain locations, then you just take the guts out of the primacord, burn the ends, and what you end up with is a hole in the middle of the primacord where the core was. That core, you can take a piece of solid core solder or coat hanger or wire or whatever you want, feed it through the inside of this for whatever length you want, run a bead of super glue down its throat so it absorbs into the primacord cover, and let it dry. As soon as it's dry, you can shape it however you want it, and then you can put your aluminum, quote unquote, aluminum ends on it for the hose clamps. This one for the hose clamps, I just used some chrome flashing tape that I had. This other one on this El Camino, I made these AN fittings out of plastic hollow tubing that I filed off to give it 6 sides, and then I just put some bare metal foil over it and painted them candy apple red to give it that anodized effect. But this is the same primacord that I put solid core solder through the center of to give it the shape I needed. And you can do it with, they make, I don't know how many different sizes of primacord, or quite a few. So really there's no end to what you can do with it as far as detailing engines, hydraulic systems, or whatever, especially if you're a scratch builder and you want a little more realism in what you're building. It's worked out good for me in the long run, and hopefully it'll work out good for you guys as well. It just takes a little bit of practice, a little bit of patience, and just kind of plan how you're going to lay it out and how you're going to route it. And it's actually very, very easy to work with. This particular service bed, I did this off of memory from the service truck that I used to operate. It was actually on a bigger chassis than a 1-ton. So I scaled it down from an international 6,000 day cab delivery scenario to a 1-ton truck, but it's the same bed, the same unit, or the same equipment on it. The boom is plastic square tubing, plastic round tubing, aluminum rod for the hydraulic cylinder, for the lift cylinder rod. The canisters and the reservoirs are just round tubing and with some end caps I made. The end roller is the channel changer from an old ghetto blaster, and the spool with the wire on it is the actuator from a remote control airplane. Yeah, and the rest is just some phone wire and some more Primacord. The air compressor is 2 CO2 cartridges. I cut the bottlenecks off of and spliced them together. I turned both pulleys on my lathe. The cooling coil that goes to the tank is brass wire that's got brass wire wrapped around it on the outside. The compressor head is an old scratch-built valve cover. I didn't like the way it came out, so I cut it in half and changed it to a compressor head and put the little filter housing on it. The engine itself is just little bits of scrap pieces here and there that I slapped together. There's some balsa wood and some other stuff in there. The water jug is solid core aluminum bar stock I turned in my lathe. The frame is brass wire that I soldered up to go around it, obviously. The 2 hose reel spools are actuators from a RC airplane with I think it's 14 gauge or 12 gauge wire with brass handles that I put together. I soldered the handles on the flow valves for the handles and the grab handle themselves. The hose reels is made the same way as these, with the actuator, remote control actuator parts. The tank for the hydraulic system, for the hydraulic fluid and the motor oil is just plastic cardstock. The pumps are the little aluminum crimp ends for wire rope, and the rest is just wiring and some brass and some miscellaneous. The body itself is plastic cardstock. The outriggers are fully functional. They raise up and down. I scratch built these with just square tubing and some brass, and they also slide in, and this pin right here locks them in place. The vise is just bits of plastic I had left over, filed, sanded, whatever, shaped it, and put the handle on it. And the slam locks for the doors are the same cardstock plastic and plastic rod for the outside frame of it. So, and it is all to scale. I measured out a real truck, and all the proportions are correct. Oh, and the expanded metal for the headache rack is out of a fiberglass repair kit that I got from Craig and Auto Parts. So it was fun putting it together because I kind of did it on the fly. I did it as I went, but now that I know what I know, I can do one twice as fast, and I can pretty much do whatever I want with it, as far as making it bigger for a different size chassis or something like that. So it's not hard. It just takes patience and trial and error, and the last but not least, I use this crate right here to cover the 9-volt battery that runs my gumballs on the roof. So all in all, it's all worked out pretty good. It came out really way nicer than I thought it was going to. The tailgate does open, but my D-ring broke, so I need to make a new one. I need to take it apart and make a new one. But then the taillights came off, or the headlights off a 59 Cadillac. But other than that, it's pretty much stock. Anyways, if you have any questions or comments, they're always more than welcome. If you need any other pointers on some of this other stuff, don't hesitate to leave a note or send me a email or whatever. Just either way you can get a hold of me one way or another. So I'll be more than happy to share this information because there aren't a whole lot of people around that know how to do a lot of this stuff anymore. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and hope you watch the next one whenever I make that one. And we'll talk to you soon. Happy modeling. Thanks.